Blake, you just wrote a new book called Dirtbag Rich.
Sammy, I did.
And I just finished reading it. And I was noticing that more than any other specific part of the philosophy of the book, what I was admiring in all your stories and things is your prioritization and your ability to really do what you want in life and to follow that to its farthest extent and not let certain cultural pressures sort of get in the way of that. And I'm curious, I guess, is this like a skill that you've developed over time, or is it something that's kind of always been a part of you? And like what challenges has that run into as you've kind of explored the far reaches of that?
I think it was Cartman from South Park who said, whatever, I do what I want. And I don't really take that cavalier view. I actually think that approach won't get you very far towards what you want, or won't get you very much of what you want. So, like, am I really flouting societal expectations? I don't know. Maybe. I mean, I'm still doing stuff that people value in society. I feel like you can't escape that. And I think what I really try to highlight early on in the book is that this is not about trying to get something for free or to trick people or to, just create some magical money machine like some other entrepreneurial books might suggest that you do, but really to become finely attuned not only to your own needs and desires and what makes you tick and what drives you crazy, but like what other people need. And that's the only way you can really find entrepreneurial success, I believe. And without that, without the ability to support yourself and to make a decent amount of money without having full-time servitude, then you're not going to achieve something called dirtbag rich. You might become conventionally rich. You might become high status. You might become just a dirtbag. But yeah, the magic for me is about creating some sort of life where you are in relationship to other people, not just in personal relationships or business relationships or adventure buddy type relationships, but it's like a massive amount of give and take. From the outside, it can look a lot like a bit more Wild West hyper-individualism, the focus on autonomy that I have. But it's not this kind of like Ayn Randian autonomy where really like you become this Nietzsche Ubermensch who can just create whatever you need for yourself because you're so talented. No, you can't create everything you need for yourself. So, yeah, I'm not sure if I agree with the assessment, but I can certainly see how it could come off that way. And I'm gradually trying to do a better job each day and each week of clarifying these ideas, because the book is not the end of the conversation, it's the start of the conversation.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think sort of the do what you want was sort of kind of like an important piece for me, because I remember also feeling very pressured by a lot of shoulds in society. So I was like, well, what if I just kind of like let some of that go, and it felt way better. But your distinction there, I think, is helping me appreciate the title of kind of the book that was sort of a test or precursor to this book, the Do What You Love.
And Die Trying.
And yeah, do what you love. I think there's like something about that that implies more soul or more like connection in it than just like do what you want.
Yeah, I agree.
More give too than just take.
Yeah, I think it was Adam Smith who wrote in The Theory of Moral Sentiments that man desires to be both loved and lovely, which is you want to be loved, valued by other people, but you also want to like feel lovely. You want to value yourself, like have a sense of integrity and some like moral alignment. And that's something that I think, again, goes missing with a lot of lifestyle or entrepreneurship type advice, which is just focus on like riding some wave, some economic trend, or get into AI, get into crypto or something like that. Make a bunch of money, then you can be free, and then you can have autonomy and moral alignment. And no, I think it all needs to happen at the same time.
And that makes sense then why kind of like the three pillars, it seems, or the Venn diagram of the Dirtbag Rich life. One of them is service.
Purpose.
Or purpose, which includes the service, I imagine, like as
it
a
can
big part of it.
Yeah. I mean, some people find purpose in service, like to, I don't know whether you use that as like volunteering or you're thinking of service to family, but I wouldn't say that that's a universal value or a universal good. And just the root of that word service, it's related to servant and like a master servant relationship. And I definitely think that, again, you need to be in relationship to people. You need to provide value. You need to be like an equal trader, a consensual based trader.
Right.
But it doesn't always have to feel like service.
I see.
Yeah. But yeah, purpose writ large. There's so many different ways to find purpose. And, with the decline of religion over the past few hundred years, I feel like purpose is this like ambiguous word. And I tried to give it some good, airtime in the book and just say like, no, really, this is actually important. And a title for, I think a chapter that I ended up discarding in an earlier draft was, you cannot eat purpose, but it will keep you alive. Yeah.
Would you say, like, as you were navigating, sort of coming into yourself and finding your own philosophy of life, that was like one of the bigger challenges, or I guess focuses as you were
definitely focus.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it was a challenge. It always felt like sort of like adventure discovery, and mostly through books and conversations. But no, I think I was pretty locked in on the search for purpose pretty early on in life. And why? I don't know. Maybe that's just me, but yeah, I don't think I ever had like a nihilistic phase. Nothing matters.
Yeah. So you were able to find meaning then in lots of your experiences then.
Yeah. Yeah, I do what I want. Yeah. Cool. And usually what I want feels purposeful.
Yeah. One part of the book that I really resonated with was at the beginning when you were talking about this period of kind of, you kept, starting new jobs, and then you would quit, and then you would leave, or you started like a long trek, like a backpacking trip.
The Pacific Crest Trail.
And then like ended up leaving that early. And I'm curious because it seems like your life now, there is still a good amount of like leapfrogging or nomadic living and like kind of a constant change. What the crucial difference is between that period of your life when you were kind of maybe more confused about it versus now, which it seems way more intentional. Like specifically, I guess also the internal shift that took place.
Oh, it's like night and day. Yeah. I mean, the earlier phase was running away, and now the modern phase is running toward something. And I mean, I think I was just experimenting with modes of employment that I thought I genuinely wanted, or failing that, modes of recreation I thought I genuinely wanted, like a long distance hike, multi-month hike. And when I was presented with enough evidence, and so it could be over the course of a few months with a job, or maybe a few weeks, sometimes it's a few days, or for the Pacific Crest Trail after 2 weeks, it was just this kind of pit of the stomach feeling that I'm in the wrong place. And I know that there's a lot of fear about, like, if you leave a job suddenly, you don't give proper notice, then you won't get a letter of recommendation, or there'll be a gap on your resume. And like, sure, those are real threats, I suppose. But I think the much bigger threat is to like stick in a job that you wake up every morning and you feel in the pit of your stomach is like absolutely not where you should be, or what you should be doing, or what's best for you, or where you're learning or growing or being challenged the most. But that also goes for things that are not paid, like the Pacific Crest Trail. Like I was so sure I wanted to hike the PCT, and I could do the physical effort of hiking 25 miles a day. But after a couple weeks, and I'll bring that word service back in now, I really felt like I was being of service to absolutely no one. And that didn't feel good to me. And I had been working at summer camps most summers previous to that year. And so I left after 2 weeks, and I took a train across the U.S. and joined my brother working at a children's summer camp out in Pennsylvania. And that felt right. Just I woke up and I was like, yeah, I get to work with kids, get to work with cool peers. And even though all of a sudden I was working for someone else again, instead of being free to hike, hiking the Pacific Crest Trail is kind of this ultimate version of freedom and immersion in nature. And a lot of people will save up a lot of money and vacation time or quit their jobs in order to be able to do this. And I thought that was going to be me, but it turned out it wasn't. So I think you have to be willing to walk away from all sorts of opportunities, both like ones that are good and bad or obviously difficult, when you feel that. I mean, I think that's where purpose comes from. It's like some like gut brain connection. There's no clear way to put a metric on that. Yeah. I wish I had some exercise to suggest, like Kegels for purpose.
Yeah. I think, you're right that it's like just listening to that feeling. And I relate a lot with that story of you kind of, quitting different jobs and experimenting and exploring, but then also like that feeling of like, I don't know if this is what's right. For me, it happened during high school. I kept dropping out of different schools and like trying different ones. I was like public school, private school, Waldorf school, homeschooling, hybrid things. But never really felt like that satisfied. I guess maybe the homeschool hybrid was like the closest thing because it felt like the most liberating. And then I remember like having a similar feeling as I was looking at potential colleges. I was looking at different alternative colleges. Like there was this one Outer Coast that's in Alaska, and they do like more arts and crafts things and like nature-based stuff. And I was even thinking about like going to this school like fairly seriously, but I just wasn't feeling it. There was no like feeling there. And then I remember my parents bringing up the High Desert Center gap year, which they actually found from your podcast, which was really cool.
Cool.
And I remember looking at the website, and then I was just like super excited, and like I could feel everything lighting up, and I was like, this is it. I knew like right then. And so it's interesting, like having that feeling, but like it taking a while and still looking at all these other options and like not having it. And then also coming here, and then my expectations were not only met, but like exceeded. And so I've noticed at different times, like wanting or like waiting for that feeling again in terms of like career or other life paths or partners or things like that. And it feels difficult, but
it is difficult. And I feel like when parents say they want the best for their kids, or they just want their kids to be happy, this is often what they're talking about. They want their kids to be excited and motivated and moving towards something. And oftentimes parents don't care that much what the thing is, as long as it's not like dealing drugs out of their garage. But I think a lot of parents, when they have these professional ambitions for their kids that they're pushing really hard, like somewhere buried underneath that is just like, I want you to be excited for what you're doing and to feel challenged and engaged. And oftentimes the excessive pushing is counterproductive.
And even that, like safe too, right? Like to be able to survive in the world and
I'm not going to say there's no one out there that doesn't get pushed by their parents to become a doctor or a lawyer or something and then enjoys being a doctor or a lawyer. Sure. But I think there's also lots of people out there who are pushed into a certain path, and then they do it, and they do it for a while, and then at some point, that pit of the stomach feeling is just eating at them so much that then they quit, or they leave, or they have a crisis or breakdown or burnout, and then it probably just takes a lot longer to like reset from that. And especially if you have serious financial obligations like a mortgage, kids, car payments, it just becomes harder to do that kind of work, do that hard work, like rediscovering that feeling that perhaps you could have done earlier in life when the stakes are a bit lower. Yeah.
I think something I'm learning too is it's never going to quite look like I think it's going to. Like, for example, the feeling that I got when I first attended the gap year here, I was like, okay, now I'm on to the next thing. But a lot of what's happened since then is just me coming back here and participating in similar things over and over again. And I'm like, okay, maybe there's something to this specifically that's going to be a specific part of my life and not just a gap year. Yeah.
I kept going back to this camp called Deer Crossing year after year because I would always get something different out of it. And I often had different roles or responsibilities. Sometimes I'd go for just a part of a summer. And eventually, I felt like, okay, it's time to move on from this. But I think there's no shame in hitting copy paste if something's working. Again, if you are in tune, like, if you are coming back to a place only because it feels familiar and secure. And I mean, but then you'll probably start to get feedback from the people who are there, and it'll be kind of like, so what are you doing back here again?
Yeah.
Or what are you hoping to get out of this?
Yeah.
And I think at a place like this, you would get that feedback.
Yeah.
If that were the case.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Openly, for sure. Yeah. So these things, these periods of quitting and throughout your life, it seems like you've kind of discovered, and there's a title of one of the chapters is You Really Don't Have to. And discovering this freedom to do what you love and die trying. And the shoulds, the things that people think that they have to do are like the school system, current workplace, and like relationship structure. Another one also that I feel like is relevant here is people feeling this pressure to like go to the gym or to get in shape or to like be a certain way. And I'm curious like what you found in that area of your life in physical fitness and how you approach that now and like where you think the pressure is wrong or unneeded and where it serves purpose.
Yeah, I guess the question is, again, what do you really like to do? Like, do you like to spend time in gyms? Some people do. I think they love like the environment, the social environment, the smell, the grunting, the weights. And I spend very little time in gyms, so I don't even have terminology here.
Yeah.
And like, if you want to be in the gym because that's what lights you up, fantastic. I'm not going to tell you not to do that. And I really think that the structure of like a gym-based workout is really appealing to a lot of people. Like it's like numerical, it's like hard facts. There's repetitions, there's weights, it's numbers. And that just is not for me. Yeah. And I don't think it ever has been. I feel like the only time I've gone to gyms is kind of as like a fun experiment to be like, what's this world like? It's like you're going to like a foreign country. You're like, oh, look, they eat fries differently in the Netherlands. Yeah. That's funny.
Or maybe even a zoo.
I won't say that.
I'll say that.
Well, yeah, with the increase in people using smartphones and videoing and just the bigger number of opportunities to kind of show off how great you might look while you're at the gym, then yes, there might be zoo vibes there. But for me, doing physical stuff has always been linked to being outside. Yeah. And so it's hiking, trail running, backpacking, windsurfing. I've never really gotten into climbing, sailing, anything where you actually need a lot of gear. Even windsurfing, I never did outside of the summer camp context where the gear was provided. I think a bike is the biggest piece of gear that I'll own. And so it's about like moving my body through nature, through like a changing environment, like a long trail run. There's just nothing like that.
Mm-hmm.
And when I compare that to being in a gym and like the stale air inside a gym and like everyone else's like BO and sweat compared to like birds and trees and wind and trails that change, texture all the time, like no competition whatsoever. And so if I can kind of ready my body to participate in the outdoor activities that I like in a way that lets me avoid the gym, I will. So, there's so many like cool workout videos on YouTube or something, or Pilates, just there's like everything that you could possibly want out there. And if you can find like a version to do at home or in a park that doesn't really require much gear or weights or anything, then for me, that's it, But I want to do as little like training as possible. I just want to do the stuff I love in the outdoors. And sometimes it is necessary to prepare or train a little bit for that, especially if you're in like a period where you can't do stuff outdoors and you don't want to just be totally sedentary. But yeah, I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And it seems like, as you said, like in your book, the link between the physical activity and nature is very close. And also this pillar of physical activity also seems important to the living cheaply and sort of preparing yourself for the lifestyle that you want to live, but also like to avoid medical expenses and to make sure that you're really bolstered even with like potentially frugal living. And I'm curious, I've noticed like watching you just around campus here, you seem to have this tendency to keep your body moving, or you're using a standing desk as you're riding, or different things like that. And it seems like just from witnessing that and also reading your book, that staying in good physical capacity seems like a really important piece of this lifestyle. And as you said, like most of it's not necessarily like training in the conventional sense, but I'm curious what you found, and it could be like the trail running, or like simple practices like the standing desk, or like moving as you work type of thing, that have helped you feel prepared and also just generally feel better in your body.
Like practices, I don't know. I feel like you're asking the training question.
I am a little bit.
Yeah. And really, I just feel like, to use a trite phrase, like movement is life. And, that's down to like the most basic little amoeba with a little flagellum. And it's just trying to like get through some fluid somewhere and eat some other little things. And like literally that's an indicator of life. It's like, are you able to move? And I don't want to go down some like evolutionary psychology rabbit hole here, but I think it's pretty non-controversial to say that most people had to move a lot more than we do today. And certainly that's only become more true as things like nice beds and couches and vehicles have become just way more accessible to more people. And which again is really only like in the last 100 years.
Yeah.
And so I don't feel like it's that crazy to say, oh, my practice is I just like to keep moving.
Yeah.
And then sometimes I'm like, all right, I've moved enough, and I lay on a couch and I'm like, thank God for couches. These things are so great. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That's helpful. Just like even hearing that as like a mindset, or just like an awareness that you have around it. And taking that awareness of like our history evolutionarily, or just like the way we live and move as humans. And then kind of from that place, it'll just happen naturally, it seems, or like be a part of you in your life.
Yeah. I mean, you have to make effort, right? One of my favorite movement practices is partner dance. And I have to be very intentional about going to the places where this community exists, and to make time and money and space available to go to the partner dance weekends that I love. And even though I will be dancing for hours and hours and hours over the course of one of those 3 or 4 day long weekend events, my body will just feel so great afterwards. I won't feel tired. I'll feel energized. And whereas if I'm sitting too long anywhere in any situation, then my body will start to just like seize up and feel like junk. And then, I have to remind myself, okay, there's probably a solution to not feeling like junk, and that is probably moving somehow, either light movement or going out for a long run or bike ride or going swimming. I don't especially envy people who are going on these like intense runs every day. And they're like, oh, I got to get like my 5 miles in. Otherwise I just won't feel normal. I might be similar to that in terms of like physiology and psychology, but the idea of doing the same thing over and over again, going for like the same run every day, or even like the same like impact that running has on your body is not appealing. I don't think it's actually that healthy. And so as many different modes of movement that you can have and just not become monomaniacal about anything, I feel like that's the trick. Yeah. And to just love all of them and to feel like as few of them as possible are like our training or like preparation for something else. Just each one is an end in itself.
Enjoying your physical activity. I think a big part of that for me, and one of the core concepts of my own brand that I'm trying to create here, is play. And that's also just a really valuable way to get that variety of movement in. And I see you practicing that in your life in many different ways. Fusion, or like bringing a Frisbee around whenever you go different places.
Frisbee is the best $10 you'll ever spend.
So good.
I remember as a kid going to the swimming pool and looking at the adults going back and forth in the lanes and thinking like, that's so boring. Just come over into the open pool here and let's play around and do all this different stuff. I have since come to embrace, lap swimming, and so play evolves over time, but I'm totally with you on the sense, because dance for me feels entirely like play. And it's like after every 3 or 4 minute song, you have the option to play with a new dance partner. And so I think however you can keep that alive, I'm fully in support of.
Yeah. I'd love to dig into the dance a bit more, because it's something both you and I share in common. And I'll just share briefly, like my experience of it is, like both from the perspective of being really interested in human movement and physicality in general, and then also the connection aspect and the creativity aspect is like so crucial to me. Like I've noticed, I've kind of a background with a little bit of social anxiety, so it's not always like been the easiest thing for me in the past to connect just through conversation. But I love different physical activities that allow me to connect with somebody without necessarily the conversation there. And it feels like fusion dance or partner dance is like one of the biggest ones where like, I almost learn more about a person by seeing the way that they move than just by like hearing them talk. And so it's been really a powerful practice for me to like get deeper into my own body and experience that, and the creativity and play, and then the deep connection with people. Yeah.
That's all true for me too. And I think it's so cool that you can just not even engage in small talk with someone who's brand new. You can go have a couple dances with them. And if they're like not so good, then you can be like, thank you, and just sort of walk away, and you never had to exert yourself or trigger any social anxiety. And if they are amazing dances, you can just immediately talk about how amazing your dances were. And it's kind of like you have this exuberant sharing moment with this new person, but someone who you've been in some level of physical contact with now for 3 to 10 minutes. And you have something to talk about, which is not like your jobs or the weather or something like that. So yeah, but I think it's a magical gateway, especially for people who do feel a bit socially anxious or classify themselves as some variety of neurodivergent. And I'm just such a fan of it. I have been trying for a long time to draw other people into the partner dance world and say, listen, we're only a little bit weird. We're only a little bit scary. Come hang out with us. Come give it a shot. Just try it once.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's something I really like about specifically the fusion scene, is it's very welcoming, the community itself, but then also like the style of dance. It's very loosely defined, I would say, or like more, entry level or like welcoming to newer people.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
wouldn't say that the dance is necessarily entry level, and this is an interesting conversation in the fusion dance community about whether fusion can be your first dance or should be your first dance. And I'm more on the side of no, it should not be your first dance.
Okay.
Like you should go learn a more formal system like salsa or tango or swing dance or whatever, and then maybe start learning a second system, and then come into the fusion dance world with some of that vocabulary. But I'd say that the social values of the fusion community are high inclusivity and high patience. And so that means you can be someone without much dance background and still feel welcome.
Right.
There. Yeah. That doesn't mean that like more experienced dancers are going to want to dance with you for more than one gracious song.
Right.
And that means you still might need to go do your homework and level up a bit in these other perhaps less inclusive communities, but ones that are more focused on skill building. Yeah.
Like other dance styles, you kind of like have little upgrade paths or like.
Yeah. And it's like once you get better at one dance, it makes the next dance easier to learn. And so I've really enjoyed dropping into these completely alien partner dance communities and just trying to like fake it till I make it. And it's still like very anxiety provoking for me to step into a new dance community where everyone kind of knows these norms, and especially when people are trying to repeat patterns that they've learned instead of use a more like feeling or connection based dance approach. And that I struggle with, but I try to stick around long enough to learn a few things from them, and then I can bring that back into my fusion dance.
But you still feel that kind of like nervousness sometimes when you're exploring new territory.
Yeah, I mean it's a new social group. You don't know exactly what the rules are. And this is what coming the expectations are.
This is coming from somebody who's very experienced, I would say. And so like if you
still terrifying.
Yeah, if you're wanting to get into something like that, then like just expect that that's going to be part of it, like every time, or a lot of the time, I guess.
At least in the beginning.
In the beginning, for sure. Something I've grown to appreciate about you, and something I also aspire to do myself, is, for lack of a better term, to sort of make different areas of your life or different ways that you express yourself, I guess, sexy in a sense, where like, I'm just thinking of like the fun, ordering the little pink pedals for your bike, or even like the pixel art mountains that you have on your website or things like that. I just appreciate that sort of a stylistic approach to things.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Was not intentionally going for sexy with the pink pedals, but definitely fun and whimsical. And the color is a good contrast with the green frame of the bike.
I guess I mean sexy in like a kind of, enticing or like, playful sense, I guess, too.
Yeah. Playful.
Yeah, playful. Here we are.
Yeah. I see so many people in Europe, especially, just wearing like shades of black as their outfit because that's like chic or elegant or safe. And I'm like, come on, get some crazy color contrast in there. Have a little fun. The Germans, especially the Germans who like to hike, they're into that.
That's something I've sort of tried to, I guess, add as an element to a lot of the fitness focus that I have. And because I completely resonate with what you were saying, like walking into a gym and just feeling kind of like not always the most excited energy or the most playful energy. It feels very like regimented, and which is great for some people, like you were saying, the numbers and the counting and things. But I think that's why play is such a key part of it for me. And it's something that I encounter when I'm talking to new people about my love of fitness, is like, how can I make this like so playful that like you can see what I see in it? And so I think that you've done a really good job of that, just through your writing or your design of different things, your website or like your book, and how you structured things, is you make it very digestible and like engaging and exciting. And so it makes me and others come back for more because they're like, he's showing me what he's seeing. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
One piece of the book that I think has been one of the bigger insights that I'm taking away from it is just the awareness of what it means to be a modern human and how easy it is to take it for granted. And because of like the social comparison aspect, we're constantly comparing ourselves to other people, especially through social media and things like that, that we don't get to fully appreciate how wealthy we are, really. And so when I think of your book now, Dirtbag Rich, I don't just think of it in terms of like a way to make like being poor sexier or like more enticing. It feels to me like very truthful and authentic to the reality of the situation, at least for a lot of people who live in the modern world, is we are just really wealthy. And like to let that sink in. Yeah. Which like was a shift for me because like before when I was looking at this book, I was like, it seems like a way to make, I guess being poor, for lack of a better word, like, yeah, more enticing or like that lifestyle. But it's just, to me, seems like, yeah, acknowledging the truth that we are just very well off.
Yeah. And the question is always compared to what or compared to whom. And I think the comparison to like many other parts of the world is fairly obvious. But the more interesting question is compared to maybe people in a similar situation at some point in the past. And a big theme in the book is like, how much are you comparing yourself to others? And if you're always just thinking that you will only be rich or wealthy or happy or satisfied once you have as much or more than the people around you, I mean, that's essentially the rat race. And if you can stop and realize just even some little things like, wow, I just got this this little infection and I took some penicillin and all of a sudden it's gone. Or I took some ibuprofen and wow, my pain is much better. And 100 years ago, that was not on the table. Or God forbid you go to a hospital and get a surgery and you're like, I wonder what this would have been like 300 years ago. Or the diversity of food that you have available to you in the winter. These are all forms of wealth that we just become so accustomed to immediately because you see everyone else suddenly has access to them. It's like, oh, everyone else can eat lettuce in the winter too, which is probably grown in far southern California and shipped across the country to you at an incredibly low price, relevant to how hard you have to work to make that money. But it takes some effort to remember this stuff. And sometimes it feels like almost this kind of academic thought experiment where you're trying to even like convince yourself in a mode of toxic positivity that you're like, oh, I'm so wealthy. I'm so wealthy. And that's not really what I'm advocating for. I'm advocating more for a sense of perspective and humility and gratitude. And these are kind of like classic moral virtues or Christian virtues or something like that. And as you know, there's very, very little discussion of formal religion in the book beyond acknowledging that it's mostly gone from a lot of people's lives these days, but still being able to express those virtues. And one of them is to not be like envious or covetous of what other people have around you and just be like, look, we have this incredible plush couch. Yeah. And this cost us relatively little money to obtain. And how hard did I have to work to make that money? Well, sometimes it feels hard because, I just generally feel like work is hard, but I wonder how hard people 100 years ago had to work to earn something similar to, you couldn't even buy a smartphone 30 years ago. And so just having some perspective on that and not just being a whiny, overly needy modern human being who's just like, everything's so hard and everything's so expensive and I have to work so hard. And it's like, okay, first of all, compare yourself to like someone who actually has to work a lot harder to make a similar amount of money in the same country or even the same state or city. Second of all, compare yourself to the plight of people living in other parts of the world today, right now, who grew up with much more challenging circumstances. And then finally, compare yourself to the rest of history. And it's like, shut up, okay?
Yeah.
Just enjoy what's around you, try to do good work, and then, like, if you don't want to work so much, then figure out a way to spend less money.
Yeah.
Which is also a big part of the book.
Yeah.
Yeah. And go enjoy yourself outdoors in nature. Jeez, just go for a hike. You'll feel better.
Yeah. Yeah, that perspective, like it's easy to forget it, but I think it's really important. It's something that the book has given me more of, for sure, an appreciation for that. I'm curious, as you're writing this book or as you're just growing up, like, when do you find are the moments that you feel the most doubtful of your path? Like, I know there are specific moments in the book where you kind of like ask the question sort of in a way that, like, maybe the audience is thinking this, or maybe the reader is thinking like, maybe I'm just a commitment phobe, and like, what's wrong with us, people who just want to spend all the time outdoors and things like that. My sense is that's a little bit like addressing those concerns that maybe the reader has or something. But maybe there's also, like, underneath that, like, a little bit of like, maybe I am like doing something wrong, or like, I don't know. Yeah,
reasonable self-doubt.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm curious the moments that arises the most.
Well, I think social comparison is like so deeply embedded in us, and that there's plenty of people who are living alternative lifestyles, or being thrifty, or van life, or traveling a lot, especially if you're really documenting it and trying to get it out there on media. I mean, that's a form of potential status competition. Also, you can compete to be the biggest minimalist. Right? You can, even like monks and nuns can compete with each other.
Yeah, the richest dirtbag.
Yeah. So that is always a threat. Like, every single person out there, no matter how enlightened or non-materialistic they seem, like, they are all equally at risk of getting led down the path of status competition.
And part of it's like human nature too, and not necessarily like a bad thing. It's just like when it gets out of hand and people are like, I need the biggest house possible because otherwise I feel really insecure or something like that. Yeah.
Or I need the smallest house possible. Look how cool my tiny house is.
So do you feel that too then, maybe sometimes?
Oh, I feel the risk of that. Sure. And like you said, it's human nature. It's really hard to not participate in that whatsoever. But I feel like that is something that with enough time you can develop an internal like alarm system where you realize that you're doing something because you just want to look impressive to other people. I've noticed this in my evolution as a writer, and I think anyone who tries to write for a public audience realizes this at some point, which is, most people actually don't want to read your SAT vocabulary, right? They don't care about your big words or your fancy phrases. Actually, what most people want to read is like fairly simple, straightforward language.
Yes.
And if you're using like really big words and phrases to like try to signal how smart or academic or well-researched or credentialed you are, that's not actually going to serve many people or connect you with many readers. And so, I'd say that's a more concrete example of how to watch out for creeping social comparison in your own life, leading you down a path that seems impressive, but ultimately is not going to take you where you want to go.
I see. So you've maybe have caught yourself in your writing, like starting to do that. And then
I mean, I definitely did a lot of what I just described very early on. And I think that's what makes a lot of like papers by college students like really difficult or high school students really difficult to read, and just like generally
so
quite
words.
terrible. And like, it's super normal. You just need to like get through that, and you need to get outside of the bubble of high school or outside of the bubble of college and academia
Yeah.
and get out into the wilderness where people are actually writing for each other and just be like, okay, what feels accessible yet deep and nuanced, and just read a lot, read books, read magazines, read articles, just everything. It's the same with podcasting, right? There's so many ways to make a crappy podcast, and mostly you're going to learn how not to do that by listening to a bunch of other people's podcasts and then by experimenting with your own. I had to go through that journey too. Yeah.
What do you think keeps you grounded in those moments when you are feeling tempted by the social comparison? Like connected back to that guttural feeling maybe of like, well, I sense that I'm doing this and maybe I'm kind of like losing myself in the process. So I'm going to come back to like that feeling.
Yeah, I think when you detect the spiraling in your head, it's usually a pretty good early indicator of that, or like anxiously hyper-focusing on little details. And I do believe that if you are doing something for its own sake, then you're probably going to feel pretty lighthearted, pretty playful, probably just like smiling and laughing. Good, but this is how I feel on a good trail run. Right. And I know that there's like certain chemicals coursing through my brain that are affecting me also, but I feel this when I'm writing and I'm really in the flow of writing, or like I nail a sentence. I'm like, that's finally what I wanted to say right there. And that does not involve any chemicals, created by physical exercise. And in comparison, when I'm like stuck up in this brain space and just like going over and over again and digging myself into a deeper well of like self-doubt and anxiety, it's like that's the time to step away and ask, what am I doing?
And go for the trail run.
And go for the trail run, or like quit the job, or whatever the intervention might be.
What are the moments that you feel the most sure that you're on the right path?
Yeah. Oh, good question. Well, going back to that waking up, pit of the stomach feeling, I feel like there's the opposite of that, which is like waking up and your brain kind of going online, and then it remembers like what you get to do today, and you're like, fuck yeah. And you're just like, oh, I'm psyched for what's going to happen, even if what's going to happen is going to be like very like daunting and challenging. And I've felt this on backpacking trips, for example, when I know that today's journey is going to take me over some hellacious pass, but like that's like the good butterflies in the stomach feeling. And the way that I signal that in the book is the chart about I have to versus I get to. And so if you're waking up saying I get to do this thing, even if this thing might be quite unpleasant temporarily, that's how you know you're on the right path. And people can like quit their jobs and create all this so-called freedom in their life, and then they can wake up and they don't have to do anything, but also there's no like I get to do something in their life. It's actually hard work to figure out what those things are, because that's the work of like figuring out what you actually want to do, how you want to spend the time of your life. And so I don't think that retirement or early retirement or this high quantities of this abstract thing called freedom are necessarily gonna help anyone. It might be the prerequisite for escaping a bad situation, but there's still work to be done to be able to have that positive feeling in the pit of the stomach when you wake up.
Thank you, Blake.
Hey, my pleasure, Sammy.
This has been great. Where can people find you if they want to buy the book or check out more of your stuff?
You can just Google Dirtbag Rich, or you can go to my website, blakeboles.com, for everything else, including my fancy pants newsletter, The Adventures of Blake.
Awesome. Really enjoyed this conversation.
Me too.
Thank you.